Welcome back to the deep dive. We're here again to cut through the jargon and bring you science-backed insights made simple.
That's the goal.
And today we've got some really eye-opening research, especially I think for listeners in places like Mount Isa or maybe Cloncody.
Very relevant locally.
Imagine this. What if the biggest lead risk in your town isn't what you always thought?
Like, not the air quality itself.
Exactly. What if something super simple and everyday thing kids do is responsible for, like, up to 93% of their lead levels?
That's a huge number.
It is. So today we're unpacking a major University of Queensland study, and we'll also look at a related editorial from the Medical Journal of Australia.
Right, to get the broader picture, too.
Our mission, to really understand these surprising lead sources, the potential health impacts, and most importantly, what practical steps families can actually take.
Okay, let's get into it.
Right, so the University of Queensland study, the headline finding is pretty stark. It found that up to 93%, let me say that again, 93% of lead exposure in children in Mount Isa comes from swallowing dust and soil.
Swallowing it, not breathing it in.
Precisely. Which kind of flips the script, doesn't it? Because Mount Isa has major lead emissions, you'd naturally think the air is the main problem.
Yeah, that's the common assumption.
But this research, it says less than 5% comes from breathing polluted air.
Less than 5%. Wow.
Instead, the average exposure from swallowing dust and soil, ingestion was 74% for the kids they studied there.
So, okay, why is that? It seems a bit counterintuitive.
That's what's fascinating. The researchers explain that most lead particles around Mount Isa are actually, well, heavy.
Dense.
Yeah, too heavy to just float around in the air for long. They settle pretty quickly onto surfaces.
Surfaces like the ground, maybe inside houses, too?
Exactly. Floors, carpets, toys, playgrounds, you name it. And this makes hand-to-mouth behavior the main route for kids.
Ah, right. Kids playing, crawling, putting hands, maybe toys, in their mouths. Totally normal kid behavior.
Totally normal. But that's how they end up ingesting these settled lead particles.
And the study found concerning levels, didn't it?
It did. The average blood lead level, the BLL, in Mount Isa kids was between 3.4 and 3.8 micrograms per deciliter.
Okay, 3.4 to 3.8. And how does that compare?
Well, about 1 in 100 children were at risk of exceeding the national guideline, which is 5 micrograms per deciliter.
Right.
And if you look back, a 2008 Queensland Health Survey showed even higher numbers then, like 37% of toddlers aged 1 to 4 were above 6 micrograms.
37%. That's significant.
And 11.3% were over 10 micrograms per deciliter back then.
And the really crucial point here, the thing scientists all agree on, is that there's just no safe level of lead for children. Zero.
No safe level. That's a tough reality, isn't it? It really changes the game from just managing risk to needing absolute prevention.
It really does.
Especially when you think about how long lead sticks around. It's not like a cold you get over.
No, definitely not. Once lead gets into the body, it doesn't just flush out quickly. It can stay there for, well, decades.
Yeah.
10 to 30 years, mostly stored in the bones.
10 to 30 years. Wow.
Yeah. And this makes kids especially vulnerable. Here's why. Their bodies absorb lead much more readily than adults.
How much more?
A child might absorb up to 50% of the lead they swallow. An adult, less than 5%.
50% versus less than 5, that's a massive difference.
It's a huge difference. It means even a tiny amount of lead dust ingested by a child has a much bigger impact than it would on an adult.
And even these low levels we're talking about, they can still cause damage.
Absolutely. Even low-level exposure can affect a child's IQ, their attention span, their behavior. And these aren't temporary effects, they can last a lifetime.
Right. So thinking about Mount Isa, it's a town built on mining. Glencore's operations are obviously vital for the local economy, for jobs.
Long history there.
So this study, it's not really about pointing fingers at the industry, is it? It's more about clarifying the specific health challenge that comes with that history.
Exactly. It's about understanding the pathway of exposure so you can target the solution. The researchers weren't saying shut everything down.
Oh.
They were focused on empowering families. They highlighted some really simple protective steps people can take.
Okay, like what can families actually do?
Well, first, washing children's hands often. Really often.
Yeah.
Especially before eating.
Makes sense, given the hand-to-mouth thing.
Second, keeping houses clean. Like really focus on dusting and wet mopping floors to pick up settled dust.
Okay. What else?
Third, Encourage kids to play on grass or other covered surfaces, like sand pits with clean sand, rather than playing directly on bare soil where lead dust might accumulate.
Right, cover the soil or avoid it.
And finally, they recommended monitoring children's blood lead levels regularly, keeping an eye on it.
Those steps sound simple, but I guess they could be incredibly effective if done consistently.
Consistency is absolutely key. Because lead exposure is cumulative, right? It builds up over time.
Like tiny bits adding up.
Exactly. So every time you wash hands, every time you clean the dust, choose a grassy spot to play. It all helps reduce that total load.
Are there specific challenges, though? I mean, keeping a house dust-free in a mining town sounds like hard work.
Oh, absolutely. It requires real sustained effort. Bare soil might be everywhere. It's not just a one-off spring clean. It needs to become part of the routine. Community awareness really helps too.
So these steps are crucial for immediate protection. But you mentioned getting the broader picture. That's where the Medical Journal of Australia editorial comes in, from 2010.
Yeah, that piece provides some important historical context. It's sort of built on studies like the UQ one, but highlighted that some of these issues weren't exactly brand new information, even back then.
What did it say?
Well, the MJA editorial stated pretty clearly that blood lead levels in Mount Isa children were substantially elevated. And it also made the point that claiming a lack of knowledge about the source of the lead was, and I quote, no longer tenable.
No longer tenable, meaning it should have been clear where it was coming from.
That seems to be the implication. The editorial discussed a reluctance sometimes seen from stakeholders, maybe the mining companies, maybe government authorities, to fully acknowledge mining and smelting as the main environmental lead source. Sometimes natural mineralization was suggested instead.
Ah, okay.
But the science, even a decade before that 2010 editorial and studies since, was pretty clear. There was strong evidence of widespread soil and dust contamination directly linked to mining and smelting, both historical and ongoing operations.
How did they know it was from the mine specifically?
They used something called lead isotope fingerprinting. Think of it like a chemical DNA test for lead. It allowed scientists to trace the lead in the surface soil directly back to the specific lead ore body in Mount Isa. It confirmed the source was aerial deposition from the mining and smelting.
So scientific proof linking the soil lead to the operations.
Yes, and to put those Mount Isa BLLs in perspective again, that 2008 average of 5 micrograms per deciliter for kids aged 1-4.
Yeah.
Compare that to Fremantle in WA, which doesn't have a major industrial lead source. Their average BLL was 1.8.
5 versus 1.8. Big difference.
Or the U.S. average around that time, which is about 1.9 for young children.
Right.
The editorial also pointed out that other Australian mining towns like Port Pirie, Broken Hill, Boolaroo, they saw more targeted action earlier on. Things like decontamination programs covering slag dumps, stricter emission controls.
But Mount Isa lagged behind.
The response seemed slower, yeah.
Yeah.
Emission limits were apparently set above national standards until 2012. And a key study on lead pathways, started in 2007, was still incomplete by 2010 when the editorial was written.
So the MJA was really calling for clearer acknowledgement and more targeted action.
That's exactly it. Their conclusion was blunt. The evidence is clear. There is a single primary source of environmental lead in Mount Isa, the historic and ongoing mining and smelting activity.
Okay.
And they argue that accepting this fact, this patent fact as they call it by everyone involved, was crucial for finding a proper remedy and getting better health outcomes for the community. Clarity first, then effective action.
Clarity and proactive steps.
Yeah.
You know, speaking of clarity and supporting well-being, this study we're discussing was simplified for us by the Orium's Fit Research Digest.
Ah, right, Orium's Fit.
Yeah, and they're not just about making science easy to understand. They also make wellness products. They actually won Best Product of the Year from productreview.com.o.
Oh, really?
Yeah, for both 2024 and 2025. Stood out from like 68,000 nominees. Pretty impressive. They focus on high-quality wellness gear.
That is impressive. And they offer EMS devices, right?
Right.
Muscle stimulators.
Exactly. Muscle stimulators using EMS technology. They're designed to be portable, easy to use on the go, but still effective for things like muscle recovery and boosting circulation.
Mm-hmm. Important for overall wellness. And while, obviously these aren't medical treatments for lead exposure or anything like that.
But of course not.
Many people do find that EMS technology helps with general muscle recovery after exercise, or just supports circulation, which feels good. And Orium's Fit backs them with a limited conditional lifetime warranty, which is good peace of mind.
Totally. It's about finding tools to empower your own wellness journey, isn't it? If you've maybe never tried a muscle stimulator, their products could be a good way to see what it's about.
And if you already have one,
Then it's a reminder to use it consistently, right? Like those protective steps we talked about. Consistency is often key to getting the benefits, just taking those proactive steps for your well-being.
makes sense. Little steps add up.
Absolutely. Hey, here's a completely random but related fact for you.
Go on.
Did you know ancient Romans used lead for tons of stuff? Water pipes, cooking pots, even makeup, I think.
Really? Lead pipes. That sounds problematic.
Totally. They were unknowingly exposing themselves for centuries.
Yeah.
It just shows how long it took us to really grasp the dangers of lead. Kind of underlines why modern studies like the UQ one are so vital, doesn't it?
Yeah, a stark reminder of how far our understanding has come. Thank goodness for modern science on this.
So let's quickly recap the main points from today's deep dive. The big takeaway. In Mount Isa, swallowing dust and soil is the major pathway for lead exposure in kids, much more so than breathing the air.
Up to 93%, which is huge.
And simple proactive steps, hand washing, cleaning, avoiding bare soil, monitoring levels can make a real difference.
And acknowledging the primary source, the mining and smelting activity, as the MJA editorial stressed, is fundamental for effective long-term solutions.
Definitely. This knowledge feels especially critical for families right there in Mount Isa or in nearby Cloncurry.
Absolutely. Understanding these specific pathways helps everyone focus their efforts where it counts most, helping the community stay safe while coexisting with vital industry.
So it leaves you thinking, doesn't it? As you go about your day, maybe in Mount Isa, maybe elsewhere, what other hidden environmental factors might be affecting our health that we're not fully aware of? And how can knowing more empower us to act?
That's a great question to ponder.
If you want to dig deeper into the University of Queensland study or read that MJA editorial yourself, head over to the Orium's Fit Research Digest at oriums.fit. They've got links and the simplified breakdown.
Right. Orium's Fit is committed to making that science accessible. And as we've seen, knowledge empowers better decisions for your environment and for your personal wellness, too.
Yeah.
So check out their range of award-winning products, like those effective EMS muscle stimulators we mentioned, designed to support recovery and an active life.
And if you found this deep dive helpful, please share it with someone who might benefit. Follow the deep dive on Spotify, maybe leave us a review. It really helps. Join our community.